This content is brought to you by our channel members. Thank you all very much. Hi guys, it's me, Jack, the Lost Law Scholar. Do I have some news for you in regards to the Wayward Realms? The devs over at Once Lost Games have released a little explainer as to why the devlog is taking a little bit of time. So I thought the best thing to do would probably be just to read it to you. Hey all, looks like the devlog team has quite a task on their hands. So since Friday has come and gone, I figured I'd share some insight as to why it's going to take so much effort to get things edited and ready. First, the big thing at the centre of all of it. Julian's passing wasn't just difficult for us because of the loss of a good friend, the best and brightest engineer in our team, and the guiding light on the technical side of the project. He also shared with me in one of the last conversations that we had that he had long since lost faith in Unreal Engine. This news came at a time where development had reached a point where we were fairly stuck, with all of our major systems implemented, but causing a full collapse in performance whenever any one of them was scaled. You read that right. Not all of them, any single one. We had a Mount Everest of technical difficulty in front of us, and Julian was our biggest hope for getting Unreal to behave. There's far more to what happened next than I could possibly put into text, so I'll have to give you the highlights. The short version is that a few of us got together, decided to pull some crazy hours for 3 months, and just get to work solving the problems we had. As dark as things seemed at the time, there was a silver lining. If Julian himself couldn't do this in Unreal, then maybe we shouldn't even try. Maybe we could find another way. And so we migrated every system out of Unreal and into its own standalone code. And it worked. Millions of NPCs that we keep track of at all times, full-scale city-state simulations, massive landscapes, infinite questing, and dialogue without relying on any LLM generation. It's all truly there now, and Unreal is just a glorified graphics renderer for the game. It's been 3 months of 100-hour weeks for some of us, and we can finally rest a bit and then get back to a sustainable schedule. And all this got done in time for needing to show things to publishers too. So what's the problem? Well, now we have one final mountain in front of us before early access. Unreal Engine and graphics. We already would have had a mess on our hands with how unbelievably hard Unreal is to optimize. But now we have a bunch of additional systems running at the same time, and every one of them relies on GPU simulations. We have already started exploring several paths forward, and have found a few options that are likely going to work for us. We are actually running a complete custom build of Unreal Engine from source code at the moment that has a lot of changes to it. But with all that said, what do people who watch a video of the game see? The graphics. And could you imagine a worst possible time for this devlog to show up? All the graphics in the footage I mentioned before are scaled back. For example, only some of the enemies that we had before can render at a smooth frame rate right now. So many can't be featured. As another example, the NPCs have their facial animations disconnected so the dialogue system doesn't slow down when you talk to them. The list goes on and on. The team editing this footage are, thankfully, not engineers and react strongly to how things look. And while the project is in the best place it's been in a long time, with only the graphics layer left to sort out, that layer, being what we're currently working on, also means it certainly isn't as exciting to look at the game as it has been. So we have had to find a good way to show these systems in action. Ultimately, it's good for us to figure out how to communicate all this, and the team working on the devlog has a lot of ideas for how they'll show everything I'm saying so that it can actually be understood. It's certainly going to be very different from our other devlogs. And anyway, whatever comes of it, this visual rough patch will be brief, and the rest of the road to early access is going to be an exciting one. Talk to you all soon. Wave. I do believe that was Kai that wrote that one. And thank you very much for the coming out and the giving us some information once lost. It's very much appreciated. I had a little chat with Victor behind the scenes about this myself. As I was curious, I didn't want to promote drama, I didn't want to shake confidence in the Wayward Realms, over something like this because, the Unreal Engine is hard to optimize. Well, I think everyone that's tried to use the Unreal Engine has found that out the hard way, Once Lost Games simply joining that number. I think it's important to realize, though, that we have some very talented people working on this project. I think Victor and Michael are simply two of the names in a very, very good pool of talent they have there. But, as I say, I had a little bit of a chat with Victor. I am just pulling that up in the background. I realise that someone shouted at me for not scripting these things, but as I say, I've just come home from work and I've jumped onto this to try and keep you guys updated. So, I wanted to make sure with Victor that I was getting things right. And that things are going to sort of be as we discussed in the last dev interview that I released with them. So, they've been working toward a devlog, and they want it to be perfect. And now they have got to a point where they are actually simulating a lot of what they want it to simulate in order for it to feel like a Daggerfall game. In fact, Kai and Victor have sort of taken the blame upon themselves for the delay here because they just don't think it's up to snuff in terms of footage to show people. The systems behind the graphics are apparently working. There is an actual functioning early access game of the Wayward Realms behind the scenes. But the question is, how much of that is going to be ready in time for the end of the year? Honestly, this sort of explanation as to why things have died down a little bit in terms of the red meat that is being delivered to the fan base is quite heartwarming, quite settling on the nerves to me, because it means that now we know. We're not being left in the dark. We're not wondering if there's development hell going on behind the scenes. No. We are looking at a circle of colleagues, but also friends, who have lost someone near and dear to them, not just as a friend, but as a mentor, someone whose technical skills were the capstone to the entire project, cruelly taken away by a disease. And yet they go on forward. They continue on. And that is a very inspiring tale. It is sort of like the way in which No Man's Sky sort of happened in infamy and then redeemed itself, but only afterward did we find out that most of No Man's Sky was lost in a flood before it was released. Similar storms hit studios like this, especially small studios, all the time. And this studio, Once Lost Games, my hat off to them, have decided, look, here is the situation. We've lost someone near and dear to us, someone that was a mentor, someone that was the shining light of our code team, but we're going to go forward anyway. And they have found a way to make up for his loss. I truly wish them the best of luck over the next month and a half, because that's when early access is slated to release, before the end of 2025, at least for backers like myself. Which leads me into the next thing. If you have not yet backed Once Lost Games The Wayward Realms, check the links in the description below for their link tree. There, you can go to the Kickstarter and do a late pledge. I believe it's $50 American to get access to the early access for backers before it goes live publicly. I think something in the region of 12 months later. Don't quote me on that. But now you know. You know that this team is working incredibly hard to fulfill its obligations not only to its backers, but has fulfilled its obligations to its publishers, which is incredibly inspiring stuff. And of course, we can all blame Victor. I recommend hanging, drawing, and quartering in public, and if that's a little bit too extreme, perhaps we just make him dress up like a chicken and strut around Belfapava for a bit. See what happens. In all due seriousness, do go and back The Wayward Realms. Go and wishlist it on Steam. I have grown to quite like these devs. I realise that might not do much for my impartialness when it comes to reviews, but as a community, I like the Wayward Realms community quite a bit. They are constructively criticising me, as well as the devs, and I hope it continues forevermore. If you have not yet, do like and subscribe on this video. I apologise that it was a little bit rambly and a little bit, what's the word? A little bit, well, I just quoted them. but I wanted to get something out to a wider audience than people who may have missed it in the Discord. For now, this is the Lost Lore Scholar, signing off.
Did you enjoy this video? I certainly hope you did. You might expect some music here, but YouTube really doesn't like me using royalty-free stuff and keeps flagging it. So go ahead, drop me a like, drop me a subscribe, leave me a comment. Check out my friends the Brass Drake and Dean of Untold Destiny, the little spinning heads there, and click on the other video. Please do, it really helps out the channel a lot. Have a good one.